What's going on YouTube? It's Drew Lefty NDV10. Back with a fun video idea I had. I was talking with an acquaintance the other day, and he's into cards, but not pre-war specifically. And he knows I'm a major nerd for that kind of stuff. And so there's really a big divide between like modern and pre-war vintage. So he just, kind of asked me like, how do you get into that? How did you get into that? And so I thought I would touch base with some friends to get some great ideas. I've come up with a top tier list here, top 10 ways to succeed when collecting pre-war. So number one, and these are really in no particular order, a little bit of an order, not really. Number one, do your research. And what I mean by that is there's so much out there. There are sets and intricacies that I learn pretty much daily. And so I think it's important that you just do your research. The internet's an endless tool. I mean, just Google things, tobacco card sets, caramel sets, candy sets, gum, T206, the monster. There's endless ways to go in pre-war, but just do your research. That's important as you explore sets. T206.org is a great site. RIP to T206insider.com. That was a great site. There's several collecting books. The Cracker Jack book. I think of the T206 The Monster book by Tom Zappala. YouTube, obviously, if you're here, Google. There's tons of content out there about that. So just take a look around, do your research. Number two, engage with the pre-war community. And what I mean by that is social media groups, Facebook, tobacco card collectors, Chasing Caramel, Tobacco Row. All of these are great resources. Then I wouldn't have 1/3 of the collection without those. Net54, a little bit of on the older end of that site, but a wealth of knowledge. I hope it never goes away, because the knowledge that would be lost there would just be terrible. Flickr, Instagram, just tons of different ways, but you got to connect. You got to make connections. You'll go so much further making the connections, obviously making friends, but just it opens you up to more knowledge and info. There are people that have spent their entire life collecting and understanding the intricacies of all these sets. So really engage with the community. You're going to get out of it what you put into it. Number three, when you start figuring out what you like or whatever, make sure you price check comps. One of my least favorite things is seeing people buy a card on eBay for $100, and then I see it in a Facebook group the very next day or whenever they get it in for $180, and three bozos are lining up to buy it. And sure, it's their money, spend it how you want, but just please price check stuff. It is a huge pet peeve of mine. I'm not paying you 2x comps, okay? I'm not your guy. That guy's out there. And there's a sucker born every day. It ain't me. VCP does a job. Thank you, Brian, for hooking me up on the VCP. Heritage has a Solds, Fanatics Collect, REA. They all have auction archives. Do your research on this stuff. Number four, this is a great point to tie into number three. Don't lowball people. Please. It's very annoying as a seller. It doesn't come off good as a buyer, especially if you're new. Just be fair with everybody. What you'll find in the pre-war community is that it is very, very small, and everyone talks, okay? You got one reputation. It can be ruined in one interaction that quickly spreads across the internet like wildfire when you try to flip a card from a good friend, or you renege on a deal, or you don't pay for something you claimed. Whatever it is, just it's a very small community. Trust me, not one that trust is not easily gained, but easily lost. So make sure you don't lowball people. Be fair and courteous. Number five, this cannot be understated enough. Source your buys from everywhere, not just eBay. I've got a breakdown from my T206 set, and I want to say less than 20% of my set came from eBay. Majority of it came from Facebook groups and other auction houses. What I mean by that, Robert Edward Auctions. I would recommend them as the top in the game. There's Heritage. There's Sterling. There's Love of the Game. I could go on and on and on. Source everywhere that you can for buys, not just eBay. It'll take you 100 years to build a set if you just try to buy from eBay. Number 6, buy the card, not the grade. And what I mean by that is, especially in pre-war, eye appeal, in my opinion, is everything. This is obviously a Cy Young T206 portrait. It's a 3, but this card is gorgeous. These are what dreams are made of. You want to buy the card, not the grade. I wish I had a card up here that was overgraded, but it's not really my jam. So, a lot of times I'll see PSA 4s that look like, SGC 3s, and SGC 3s that look like PSA 2s, and just it's such a game with that. Don't chase digital JPEG trophies from PSA, okay? It's not a contest. It's not. Eye appeal over grade. There are people who strictly buy PSA 5s just so they can race to the computer to log into the PSA site and type in their number so that they can be T206 set number 189th overall. Okay? Great job. It's kind of goofy. Number 7, buy the best example within your budget. You won't regret quality over quantity. This is something that I luckily quickly kind of learned was as I was buying T206. I really wanted to stick to like 3s. Obviously, I've got some 1.5s and 2s. But for an example, and I'll use this card for multiple times, this was pretty much the best card, well, the best Cobb green that I can afford for my budget, or that I want to afford, really. I got to be careful. My wife's sitting next to me. But no, I think I paid like $5,000 or something for this card. And that was a pretty good deal at the time, and it still probably is. I think, 2s are probably in the 6K range. Now, I had a 1 to offset that I sold for like $4,000. So, I got a great deal on this card, sold my other copy. But buy the best card within your budget. You won't regret it. And as things, in this world, I found that these cards typically only go up. Even from COVID, where modern sports card guys have absolutely lost house and home with Zion Williamsons and whatever, all the next top rookie, Trey Lance, and these guys, sure, they hit some really crazy highs, but these cards are all still way more expensive than they were during the height of COVID. So buy the best card that you can within your budget. Be responsible. Number 8, buy Hall of Famers over commons. I think this is important if you're going to build a set. If you're just buying some random cards from each set, do whatever you want to do. But if you set out and you say, I'm going to build the 520 card T206 complete set, I see this all the time from new people getting into pre-war, is they will go buck wild. All right, it's a big set. It's 520 cards. If you don't count the big 4 that, 2 are impossible unless you're uber rich. Anyways, they go buck wild. They spend $5,000. They get 2 or 3 Hall of Famers, a couple Southern Leaguers, and 30 commons. And then they go, and then the credit card statement comes in. They're, oh my God, I've spent $5,000 and I've got 4% of the set done. Oops. And then they just scrap everything, and then they're lost, and they typically don't come back if they do that, or if they do, it's a long time. So buy Hall of Famers over commons, okay? If you scrap a set, if you end up saying, you know what, 520 cards, not for me, but I've got 40 Hall of Famers. A, they're easier to move on from if you want to move on from them. B, if you want to keep them but you scrap the set, you've got some great Hall of Famers from an iconic set. So I would just say that as a rule of thumb, buy Hall of Famers before you go into buying commons. It's just a better way to collect, in my opinion. Number 9. Never pass up a good deal. I would say that a large majority of my bigger cards were impulse buys. For example, that card. That was like a December 31st buy. That card was bought on a sleep-induced rage after I had the first kid. I don't think we slept for 48 straight hours. All of these, pretty much, just impulse buys, kind of. And you might say that, hey, that's kind of crazy. I'm not really in that position. That's fair. But don't pass up a good deal. If you know a Hall of Famer in a 3 is worth $250 and one pops up on a buy it now for $150, you got to buy that. You can always resell it. So, I don't always hate the flip game. It's just don't pass up a good deal. you'll regret it later. Trust me. And I don't think I've really regretted any of the impulse buys that I've had where it was just such a great deal. Because on a lot of these cards in the T206 set, I don't think I would have them if I hadn't have pulled the trigger on that exact copy. My Dimmitt and O'Hara, both of those were like a make or break moment. Some of these Facebook groups, when cards get posted for sale, you got about 30 seconds to hit sold before somebody else swoops it up and, relists it on eBay or adds it to their collection. So you got to be quick, but that's why it's important. Remember rule number 1, you got to do your research. Rule number 3, check comps. And then the very last thing, I'll end on this. This is a long video, not my normal format, so I'm going to try to jazz this up with some edits. But buy what you like, okay? Don't just buy T206 because you saw them or you think that they're going to go up in value, or you saw 5 other Instagram doofuses with weird thumbnail pictures saying this card is hot, buy this card. Just buy what you like. You're not, at the end of the day, you're going to be happier if you buy things that make you happy, not things that make other people happy. Okay? You're going to be in it for longer. You're going to get more out of it. Collecting is not a competition. Okay? If it was, Jeff Bezos would just win. Okay? That's not how this works. There's no, there's no like grand prize top collector of the year award. Just buy what you like. Collect what you like. Okay, so that was it. I would love some comments down below. I've got some really not so fun editing to do. If I was rich, I probably would spend more money on editing my YouTube videos than I would buying additional cards. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace out.